Karibu tena kwenye ulimwengu wa siasa, mtazamaji wangu popote pale ulipo. Mimi natumai unaendelea vizuri kabisa, lakini pia niseme asante kwako wewe na wote ambao kila mara tunakuwa pamoja hapa Double Updates Whistleblower. Unajua kuna muda tunawategemea sana kwa sababu kuna vitu vya ndani ambavyo huaga viko nje ya uwezo wetu kujua, and unakuta na wao wanabahatika kwa namna moja au nyingine kuvijua. Kwa hiyo wanapoongea inabidi tuwe makini kidogo, lakini kwa hapa nimeshangaa sana mtazamaji wangu. Mnamjua huyu hapa Nelson Amenya, shawahi kutusaidia wakati wa airport ilikuwa inauzwa, ghafla ililipuka kutoka kwake, tukajua kwamba kulikuwa na mipango ya kuiuza ile uwanja wa ndege, na baadaye kelele zetu hizi za kawaida tukazipiga, zikatuokoa, au naweza nikasema zikatusaidia. So this time round amekuja na nyingine, na hii hapa ni moto kidogo. Mimi mwenyewe imenichanganya sana baada ya swala la mafuta kuibuka, lakini pia vile vile kuwa kitu kubwa kabisa kwa serikali hii hapa ya William Samoei Ruto. So Amenya hapa anatuambia kuhusu kiongozi mmoja ambaye tunachokiona na anachotuambia kidogo vitu haviingiani, na ni wachache kabisa wamemwamini this time round. In fact wengi wanajaribu kumwambia hapana, mbona kama unatudanganya. So iko hivi: political tensions in Mount Kenya are once again surfacing after remarks by Nelson Amenya targeting Kiharu Member of Parliament NYORO, adding a new layer to the region's already shifting power dynamics. In a statement shared online, Amenya claimed that NYORO remains politically subordinate to President William Ruto, despite his recent public criticism of government policies, particularly on rising cost of fuel. Kwa sababu NYORO anakuwa miongoni mwa watu ambao reactions zao zimekuwa kali sana baada ya mafuta bei yake kupanda, and unaweza ukatazama hata kwenye kipande hiki cha video.
Thank you very much, Jeff, for having us today. I actually thought you'd have the chairman of Boda Boda Association. I would have been very glad to meet the Kenyans who are going through these very, very tough situations, especially in the specific industries. From the onset, Jeff, I have to say that I'm a very disappointed Kenyan and a leader, and especially a person who participated in a big way in selling a message to Kenyans, and especially Kenyans who really need to be supported through decision making in terms of leadership. I've been speaking about this matter of fuel since 28th of February, and whatever is happening is not an emergency to Kenya. Kenya knew we will be in this kind of a situation from 28th of February, and I've actually been doing press conferences every week, calling upon the people in government to at least afford time to think about this very critical issue about fuel. But of course they bought time up until yesterday. Even yesterday I was with a part of your team, again challenging the government that when you have instruments of power, you cannot again continue promising the people, and especially when you have abundance of time. So what happened yesterday, Jeff, is that even by the time April sent whatever they sent to the newsrooms, they were still consulting up to late in the night, that the government had actually not made up their mind on what would be the pump prices in Kenya. But to put it into context, number one, let us be a country that follows our laws. We all have given proposals, including today, which I will repeat here in this show. And I actually should start with them so that I come now to the specific one you've asked. In my interaction with the media today and yesterday, I challenged the government to do three things. One was to lower VAT in the intervening period up to 8%, but in the medium term to lower it much more to tax, to VAT exempt. On that 5% alone, the pump price would go down by around 9 shilling, as it was done this evening. But there are two other things, critical things that we must do, and underline must. That Kenya must do away with the 7 shillings fuel levy that was done by the government in the year 2024. So that is knocking again another 7 shillings. Jeff, there is something called Fuel Stabilization Fund in Kenya, paid for by Kenyans through PDL. It has close to 17 billion Kenya shillings. And that is the fund we use to give subsidies, or the government should use to smoothen and to give Kenyans reprieve at a time like this. They have only drawn in around 6 billion. I'm challenging them to draw in another 5 billion so that we give an extra subsidy of 12 shillings. In my calculation, which I did, and I hope you shared in your news,
yeah, you did.
Through my proposals, which are 3, we would reduce pump prices by 27 shillings by tomorrow morning. Because the choice we have to make, Jeff, is between making an adjustment that will spiral within our economy or then live with it. And there are many ramifications. We can choose to spend money. The proposal I'm giving will cost around 12 billion per month. The problem the world is facing and Kenya is facing is not long-term. But there are decisions we make today that will have long-term ramifications. Anytime you have adjustments upwards, let me use an example with my brother here. When you announce fares adjustments upwards, tell me when you ever saw a press conference, therefore, talking about downward trend because there is adjustment downwards.
Never.
Because upward prices are always sticky. So I'm challenging the government. We bite the bullet. Our economy can afford to actually chip in the 12 billion shillings so that we knock off 27 shillings. Why? On this other side, we then arrest a spiral towards all the inputs of production, from labor in terms of transportation. When you come to work as an agent of the economy, you spend money on fare. That is an input. So we cut off that. We knock off in terms of manufacturing. The cost of electricity, part of the component in Kenya is fuel. Why can't we spend this money to arrest a spiral that would be sticky to the economy? Okay. And that is my proposal.
Hold that thought. Albert Karagacha, let me ask you this as Matatu Owners Association. You've already raised your prices.
Yeah, we raised.
You've already increased your prices.
Yes.
I mean, come on, man. The local Mwananchi, he's going to be suffering. Even though they've been reduced as of midnight tonight, your prices are still up there.
They're still up there because we've just got the information right now. And to us, what we are saying, we still demand more. Because if you go to the market, the commodities are still high. Go to the spares, they will still be high. Go to the tires we are using, they are still high. So we still demand for more. The way Mheshimiwa has said, I think the government need to go deeper into what has come up about the issue of the fuel to see, because if you go to other countries, they have reserve. When you come to Kenya, there's no reserve. We need to think about the reserve for maybe the next 6 months, 9 months. We should not condemn about the issue of Iran. We could be ahead of Iran. So to us, we still demand more.
Engineer, with the breaking news, in case people are just joining us right now, what you just told us a moment ago, could you just repeat what EPRA, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, has just announced tonight?
Yes, to our viewers, we just reduced the prices of super petrol, which we call premium motor spirit, by another 9 shillings and 37 cents, which effectively now brings the price from 206 to 197. And then we have also reduced the price of diesel from 206.84 by another 10 shillings to 196. The reason why we've done that is because we have a new legal notice that has just been published in line with His Excellency's directive, the President of the Republic, that VAT on fuel reduces from 13%, where it was left yesterday, by legal notice number 69. So we have legal notice now number 70, which has effectively brought it down to 8%. Yeah.
Let me ask you this real quick. Can the president just make an announcement just arbitrarily like that, or does it have to go through Parliament?
Let me answer it in 2 ways, Jeff. One playbook that you must have mastered from this government is that when you run out of options for people to celebrate you, you actually forcibly create a situation. And this government's playbook is very direct. You don't need to be an expert or to have been very close to them to see that you make things so bad so that when you make them a little bit better, then you expect people to celebrate you. You know that rich man in the village who would come and shoot a villager by the foot and then call a harabe in the village, and they appear. the same person who shot the young man, and tells the villagers, I'll take up this bill, out of the money you've contributed, the balance, I'm the one to pay. And then you want people to celebrate you. First of all, you are the cause. You are the person who shot this young man. And secondly, even if you pay the bill, you still leave them with the wood. That is the playbook that this government plays with. Because we have had time to do all these adjustments, but we never did. But let me now come to your question. The changes in terms of VAT in Kenya are guided by the VAT Act. If you read the section 6 of the VAT Act, and especially part 1 and 2, it is very clear that the minister may actually give a proclamation through a gazette notice varying VAT, but there is a rider, only up to 25% of the amount of consideration. So the VAT in Kenya now, the composition of the fuel, and I'll be using petrol for in this conversation, is approximately 25 shillings in terms of VAT. So you can only give a proclamation as a minister to the extent of a quota of that. Additionally, if you have to do more than that, then there has to be a policy emanating from the National Treasury itself. Then it comes to Parliament, so that we amend the VAT Act. So as it starts now, the roadside declaration that was done today, number one, is a total show of ineptitude. One, because we had time to do the right thing, but number two, it is actually not provided for anywhere. So I challenge even my brother here to tell Kenyans, if you have a fuel dealer tomorrow, you'll be selling downward of the VAT, the one you have read today here. What legal instrument will the guy, is the dealer going to request for the refund? Because as it is now, until we change the law, you can only vary up to 25% of the VAT of any element. Secondly, I am wondering what actually my brother is doing, with all due respect, and humbly. Why? He's representing a very fundamental organ here called EPRA. But who sets the fuel prices in Kenya as we saw today? Who sets? What you've read today, is it EPRA that set it? Jeff, is it EPRA?
It doesn't
It's a roadside declaration.
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to say is that we must not continue to expose, especially the leadership, to expose the ineptitude in terms of leadership to the Kenyan people. And especially when we had all the time over 40 days to do the right thing.
Engineer, you've just been challenged right there.
Yeah.
You've just been challenged.
Yeah, we are creatures of the law ourselves, and whatever we put in our pricing is guided by law. Starting from the pricing regulation itself, in terms of the price formula that we have, it is gazetted in law, and there's nothing that we can put in that build-up of the cost without having a legal instrument. Today I've just said we just received a legal notice number 70, which is an instrument of law, so which tells us to reduce VAT on fuel from 13% to 8%. And that is exactly what we've done. We are creatures of the law. As to how it has been done, I think as we work with the law that is already published and is there. And I think, I'm not a politician myself, but I think politicians like my brother here, Mheshimiwa, talk from both sides of the mouth. On one side, they are telling the government we need interventions to cushion mwananchi, because as we are working from fundamentals, we're looking at the cost of the international cost of fuel in the international market. We all know that on the 28th of February this year, there's civil strife or some tensions that arose in the Middle East, which is one of our biggest source markets for products in terms of petroleum products. And of course, all of us are aware that there's a strait called the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world oil passes. And if you remove from the equation of the world 20% of supply, of course, demand will outstrip supply, and that has an effect on the price. And this is something that we've seen. The barrel has moved from $60 that we had seen somewhere in February Today we are talking of $101 per barrel. So that is a reality in life, and it has reflected itself with the cargoes that we are receiving. So when we apply the fundamentals we have in law in terms of the formula, the landed cost, the cost of storage and distribution, the supply margins, and of course taxes and levies. Taxes and levies, which my brother Mheshimiwa is talking about, is basically supported by law. And this is what I was saying. We can basically support all those taxes with legal instruments. So when we put all those fundamentals together, they yield a price.
What if I go to my petrol station tomorrow morning and they haven't reduced the prices? What do I do?
That one you're supposed to report them to ourselves, because they will have breached the licensing conditions, and there are sanctions to it, including revocation of their license.
And now, Karakata, are you going to reduce prices tomorrow now that prices have been reduced? Are you going to do it real quick?
You see, the way Mheshimiwa said, you see, we have already fixed our prices, so we need to consult our members.
Oh, yeah.
And we cannot just...
Are you going to consult?
Yeah, we have to consult our membership.
So tomorrow and, you're charging, you're still charging what you said?
We will still charge what we've already increased. And if you see there, we are still demanding for more, because that fuel, where the prices we've been shown there, it is still high to us. Because if you check the business we are doing right now, let's go to the roads. Right now, we have potholes in Nairobi, yeah, which are not being repaired. So you can imagine we are still going...
You're talking about potholes, and we're talking about fuel prices, but
no, you have to match.
Bro, Sio nyinyi peke. Gentlemen, I want to take a break, right? Come back and talk about more. And Kimani Kuria, the chairman of the Finance Committee, Finance and National Planning Committee, will be joining us very shortly. We'll talk more.
Okay, so Amenya argued that NYORO is acting as a lone wolf within the Kenya Kwanza camp, suggesting that his approach is aimed at building an alternative voice in the Mount Kenya region while still operating within the ruling structure. And he further warned that such a strategy could fragment the region politically, comparing it to past divisions witnessed during the era of former President Daniel Arap Moi. These remarks come at a time when NYORO has increasingly positioned himself as a vocal critic of key government decisions, especially on fuel pricing, where he has proposed deeper tax cuts and questioned the effectiveness of recent interventions. Lakini pia ukiangalia vizuri, Ndindi Nyoro hazungumzii tu mafuta. And Ndindi amezungumzia vitu vingi sana. And I don't think kama ni mafuta peke yake. So ndo maana kuja kumwamini Nelson Amenya inaanza kuwa mzigo tena. Inaanza kuwa ni mtihani mgumu. Yaani kukaa chini kujaribu kuimagine Ndindi Nyoro na anavyoongea na anavyoshambulia. Hata kama inakuwa ni vigumu sana. So his stance has drawn attention across Mount Kenya region, with some viewing him as a bold and independent leader, while others interpret his moves as calculated and aligned with broader political strategies. And Amenya's comments now add to the growing debate on whether NYORO is genuinely charting his own political path or carefully navigating his position within President Ruto's administration. Now, the situation reflects the wider uncertainty in Mount Kenya following recent political shifts, with no clear regional kingpin and several leaders seeking to influence the direction ahead of the 2027 general election. As the debate continues, NYORO actions and the reactions they provoke are likely to play a significant role in shaping the region's political future and alliances in the coming months. For now, Amenya's remarks have intensified scrutiny on NYORO, placing him at the center of a critical conversation about loyalty, influence, and leadership within Mount Kenya. As residents and political observers closely watch his next moves in an increasingly competitive landscape in the region today. Now, so hii ni nyingine ambayo inaweza kuchanganya kidogo kwa mtu ambaye umekuwa ukimfuatilia Ndindi Nyoro. Kwa sababu Nyoro mara nyingi sana tumemwona. Umeelewa? Tumemwona sana, and the reason why kwa upande wangu mimi na pata ugumu kumwelewa or kukubali kitu ambacho anajaribu kutuambia Amenya ni kwamba huyu ni mtu ambaye ni miongoni mwa watu ambao walikuwa supporters wakubwa kabisa wa President William Ruto hata baada ya uchaguzi wa mwaka 2027. Ni miongoni mwa watu ambao walipewa nafasi ambazo ni muhimu sana kwenye serikali hii hapa, kwenye taifa hili hapa. Nakumbuka ndo alikuwa mwenyekiti wa budget kipindi kile, and ghafla NYORO alienda akawa mkimya sana, hakuwa anazungumza. Watu wengi wakawa wanauliza shida iko wapi na mambo kama hayo, and watu wengi waligundua kwamba hayupo tena kwenye kwaya. Ninaposema kwaya nazungumzia wale watu ambao walikuwa wanamsupport William, yani kwa ubaya na kwa uzuri, sio kama unanielewa. So baadaye tukaona ukimya wake. Kilichofuata ni kutolewa kwenye ile nafasi ya mwenyekiti kwenye budget pale, ikaenda naye akaamua sasa kuzungumza, na kwa upande wake ashai kuongeaga NYORO akasema kwamba ni vitu vya nyuma. Yeye kama mwanasiasa kuna maisha ya siasa ambayo alikuwa anaishi ambayo sasa hivi hawezi kutamani kuishi, sio kama unanielewa. Kwa kipindi kile angeongea hivyo ambavyo alikuwa anaongea kumsupport president na mambo kama hayo, lakini this time round amebadilika, au sio? Ndio hivyo pole tu akaanza kuongea, kitu kikitokea na kuja na comment, anafanya press, anawaita vyombo vya habari, waandishi wa habari wanakuja pale, anaelezea, anazungumza na mambo kama hayo. So it reached a point where Ndindi naye sasa anaonekana tena kwa wao wamemchukulia au walimchukulia kama adui wa William Samoei Ruto, lakini najua inaweza ikatokea. Siasa kuna vitu vingi sana, umeelewa? Yani wewe ambao unafikiria haiwezekani ndio muda mwingine inawezekana. So ni swala la muda, tutajua. Unajua hivi vitu pia havifichiki sana, ni kama ndo mtu anatumia mtu, it's fine. Yani ipo siku tu itafika, itafika tu ujue kabisa kumbe yani tulichokuwa tunaambiwa ndo hiki sasa. Unaona kabisa wanafanya kazi pamoja. Yep. So sisi tunasubiri kuona ni kitu kipi kitatokea. Uchaguzi ndo unakuja hapa mbele. Watu si wanatangaza msimamo. Sasa uwezo ukatuambia bwana wewe adui wa Ruto wakati bado uko UDA na ndo unatafuta nao nafasi 2027. So tunasubiri kuona itakuwaje. NYORO atabaki peke yake au ndo ataingia DCP au yeye mwenyewe atabaki UDA, umeelewa? Lakini kwa level zake Ndindi, we expect Ndindi kuja maybe na chama kingine tofauti na UDA, kulingana na jinsi vitu vilivyo, na Mlimani jinsi pia ilivyo. Hata juzi nimeona Ndindi akicomplain kwamba kuna projects ambazo alikuwa na launch huko nyumbani kwao, but ikawa vigumu. Afisa wa polisi wametumwa pale kwenda kumshambulia na mambo kama hayo. Kidogo yani ilikuwa inatupa zile dalili za hapa mambo haipo vizuri kati yake na Rais William Samoei Ruto, si ndio? So let's wait and see. Subiri tuone itakuwaje, kwa sababu kusema naye anafanya kazi na Ruto. Unajua Ndindi amekuwa na projects nyingi sana nzuri. Projects tu nzuri amekuwa nazo nyingi sana. Tusema kama angekuwa wabunge wengine, kama kweli ana connection na Ruto na wanafanya kazi pamoja, mimi ni maoni yangu, mimi am sure hata Ruto mwenyewe angekuwa anaenda huko Kiharu ku launch hizo projects ambazo amekuwa kifanya NYORO. Lakini flat kumekuwa na mgogoro sana, mvutano fulani vikali kuhusu kama kweli huyu anaelewana na Ruto, kwa sababu sasa kutumia maafisa polisi kwenda ku launch projects peke yako, I think hizo ndo vitu important ambazo Ruto angeconsider. But again, kama anaweza ka sacrifice kiasi cha kwamba isionekane wana ugovi wote na Ndindi akafanya projects na ka launch mwenyewe, then kweli siasa kuna mambo mengi sana, mtazamaji wangu. Acha tungoje tuone itakuwaje, mtazamaji wangu. So nipe maoni yako hapa chini kwenye sehemu ya comments, lakini muhimu kabisa ni subscribe kwa ajili ya kuendelea kupata taarifa nyingi na mpya kila wakati. Bye bye.